All right, let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Ricardo. If I could get a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Bach, principal for Chaska High, welcome. You're in your jurisdiction now.
I am, and it feels great.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Well, actually, you should welcome us aboard.
And that's why I'm here tonight.
Outstanding.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity first to introduce myself and to tell you how excited we are at Chaska High School to welcome your community into our learning community. We're very excited. We kind of feel like we got either a top recruit in a football program by getting you guys back to Chaska or getting a top free agent. So we really are excited about having you here. And I was just telling a couple of the guys beforehand, when I took, this is my first year at Chaska High School. I've been in the district for 16 years. I was at the middle school east for 15 of those years. But when I first came to Chaska, we met with our parent leadership group, and I asked what was their number one agenda for the year. And their number one agenda as the parents was, how are we going to welcome the city of Carver and their students into our school system? So that shows you how important you guys are to our building, and we're very excited to have you. We hope you like purple, because we do have that, and before we'll go, we'll talk about sore hawks. So, you know, and this is very appropriate if you look at this, the future and where we go. We look at this as a great opportunity to build a partnership with your city, ranging from serving your community for your students' needs to fields and as you continue to grow. And that's why I'm here tonight, to start building that relationship. Brett and I have had a couple of conversations on how we continue to work to grow together. You guys are a very growing community, and we are here to serve and partner with you guys. So I feel very fortunate. We're excited to have you. We're on a long journey ahead, and our numbers are growing. And with the addition of Carver students coming into ninth grade, we're going to have our largest incoming ninth grade group that we've had in many years. We're going to have over 400 kids in our ninth grade, and that will just continue to grow. So we're excited. We're thrilled to have you guys here and the ability to serve your community and meet their educational needs.
Well, we appreciate that, and we're excited to be a part of it. We have a great relationship with Chaska in a number of different ways, certainly from Brent and the city manager's standpoint, as a mayor's standpoint as well, and hear nothing but great things about you.
So thank you.
And are you Jim Bauk, or are you Jim?
You know what? He hired me in Owatonna, and the joke was they didn't know if they were hiring the superintendent again or me, so that's why. But this time around, I got him into our district. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Principal.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I do have to go back. I kind of skipped number 4, resident comments and questions. Do we have any resident comments or questions at this point? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Chad Pollack. I live at 422 High Street in Carver, obviously. I just wanted to voice my support for the renovation option for Village Hall. I just wanted to make a couple quick points how I think that's the best for the city. I think, one, the city has made a strong case for the need for an expanded city hall. I think the offices are cramped. I don't believe that they made a case for the larger $8 million, $7 million options that we're putting on the table right now. A couple of reasons why. I think that we have already a high tax rate in Carver compared to our surrounding communities. I think that this would show an investment in the downtown area. The second option that I think just recently was published for downtown is a potential option as well. But I also am concerned with what Village Hall will happen, or what will happen to Village Hall if we do not invest in that. Either it's going to cost us more money to address Village Hall and the issues at Village Hall, or it will sit there vacant, which I think is an eyesore for the downtown community. Also, I think based on our projected growth, we've shown that the tax base in this area is going to outpace the inflation cost for construction on the building. And if there arises 10 years from now a need for a larger building, I think that we should consider at that time. I also think that we've been wrong before. Our 2030 plan was based off an estimated 18,000 people in Carver by 2020. I think we're now looking at around 15,000 in 24, and so I don't think that the current time warrants such a large investment in City Hall. So just wanted to voice my opinion and recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Any other questions or comments?
Hi, my name is Dustin Brocka. I represent the Carver Black Sox. I don't actually live in Carver, but I have I was living in Carver for about 20 years. I did notice that there is a new rule about driving up to the community field, that there have been blocks that have been placed in the driving portion. We do appreciate being able to drive up there because we do work on the field. We have tools, equipment, all the materials that we do bring up there, and it would be very difficult for us to bring that to the field if we had to hand carry it all the way from the parking lot. Another piece would be the CCY BSA. They also run the concession stand up here, up at the fields there, and I'm sure it would be very difficult for them to carry everything up, because I believe they're up there on almost a daily basis during the summer. So we'd like to be able to drive up there.
Where are these blocks?
I was told about a week ago that
That,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think where the misunderstanding is we asked them not to drive on the grass. You can drive on the trail, drive up to the shed. That's fine and dandy. We have no problem with that. It's driving across the grass where we got, the irrigation heads, where the kids are playing and stuff. That's the one thing we asked.
Okay.
Yep.
so if you could
Basically,
drive
it was just to stay off the grass area.
okay, so if you can drive on the trail, is that adequate for it?
Yeah, it would help at least for that as well. Yeah.
Call me if you need help.
Does the city have wheelbarrows available?
The only other
You guys
issue
do a lot of work on that field, Dustin. I know.
right.
We're gonna make it as easy as possible.
Yeah,
Without having you
just
drive on the grass.
I just wanted to voice
We're
my
there
concern
for
at
you,
least,
brother.
so. Okay, yeah, because sometimes it may be difficult to drive on the path specifically, or if we have to take that corner to get onto the field to bring materials on there. So I just wanted to bring that up.
We're
to you guys.
guessing you're not gonna be the ones doing spinnies on the infield.
No,
so,
no. Then we'd be the ones cleaning it up anyway. So
I know,
it'd be really
I know.
pointless for us. Yeah, I just wanted to voice that, make sure. Hopefully, we can get to be able to do that because we obviously do, like you said, we do a lot of work on the field, and we kind of just do it out of the goodness of us playing there. But
You guys do a nice job with it too. So
I did have a question about. We did hear that we were supposed to have liability insurance because we mow our own grass out there. That's what we were told recently.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Have you not in the past?
Okay.
Anybody who does work on city property has to carry liability insurance.
Okay. So the only reason that we do it is because the grass gets mowed on Mondays and we play on Saturday and Sunday, so it really is super, super long, so it's unplayable almost. So that's the only reason that we ended up taking that on ourselves. So we don't get paid for it at all to do any of this work from the city. We just do it because it has to be done. Otherwise, the field's unplayable.
Can we adjust the mowing schedule?
Oh, but yeah, it's not mowed just on Monday. We're mowing all week long.
Oh.
We actually have people in on Saturdays mowing as well, so it's not just a Monday mowing. Those parks are mowed. We try to make sure for CCYBSA, because they play on the weekends as well, is that it is maintained on a Thursday or Friday, so it's not a Monday mow.
So you guys can work it out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by
Yeah.
all means, yeah.
Okay.
It's just something they've purchased or more, so.
Well, we
have to
purchased
stop
it like
so.
5+ years ago because it was getting mowed early in the week, and we would have.
Let's
super
not
long
fight.
grass, so
let's not fight.
no.
We're gonna work with
I'm
you,
just
we're gonna
saying.
go through. I'm gonna guess
just
if you
stating
are,
facts,
if
so-
you are gonna mow though, we do need you to have liability insurance.
Okay.
Otherwise, we can try to alter the schedule and work within it, but they have a schedule to adhere to too, so.
Okay. Well, we'll work with them on that. All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dustin.
Good to see you,
Hey,
bro.
good luck this year.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Questions, comments from the residents? I would like to move on to library update. Heidi Hawks, Carver County Library Director. How are you, Heidi?
I'm just great, and thank
Good.
you so much for having me here again today.
Thanks for coming.
Let's see, okay, it'll be just right there, okay.
It's touchy.
It's a toughie. I gave you our annual report. You'll notice it's one page, back to back. You have busy schedules, so we're trying to make this as easy for you as possible that you can get through our annual report, and we tried to condense it as much as possible, put the most important information there. Our Carver County Express Library, as you see right here, 20 units of lockers that allow people to check out materials by coming just right up to the Southwest Transit Station, is part of our Carver County Library System, which includes 6 full-service libraries and the 4 express libraries. As a county library system, we're able to give you more for your money because we do group purchases. We have one administration, one processing department, and so on to make the best use of your tax dollars. But also, we are a part of the MELSA Regional Library System, Metropolitan Regional Library Services Agency. And as such, you're able to get a lot of e-resources, and you're able to interlibrary loan from across the state. So a book that is up in Little Thief River Falls, way up north, can come down to you for no money at all. And when we send it back, it goes back free of charge to you. So that's a service that you get as a member of the Carver County Library System. Just some real quick highlights. I'm not going to go through them all. In 2016, outreach, we finalized our smart passes. As you see this ticket and look on the back, you'll see an address that you can put in your browser, and it'll take you to the smart pass. You can get to go to all kinds of free events at museums, at concerts, at theaters in the Twin Cities area, as well as some of the zoos that are in the Twin Cities area. Absolutely free of charge. You get 2 tickets free of charge just by using your library card. A great thing. Now, we have several other outreach items, but I want to be mindful of your time. We also, every year, look at our spaces and try to keep them up to date, any library spaces. This year, we worked on Chanhassen and Waconia, and we're very proud of what we did there. Programming. Numbers of new programs, but the one that I'd like to point out to you is the one we did in collaboration with the Veterans Service Office, which was a veterans programming, a series of veterans programs, including an author that came up to talk about his book, which was on his experiences in the Vietnam War. And then the next day we had a writing session for vets, many of whom said that they had never been able to get their experiences out and to release those feelings before that time. And we had not only the author there, but we had people from the mental health division that were there, and to help if there were any problems for people, and to serve as backup afterwards. Awards. This year, we were able to receive 3 big awards. One was the Peer Award for Innovation for one of our library staff. The Chaska, your neighbors just right over, the Chaska Friends of the Library had nominated Mary Kvittick for an award, and she won the state award Amongst all the Friends of the Library groups, she won the Standout Friends Member Award. And then the Minnesota Book Award, Shelfie Award, went to the Waconia Library and 2 of their staff. Let's talk about your Express Library, though, your stats. In 2016, you had 855 books that were able to go out to people, plus a lot more. And the date you opened, I mean, you've only been open a couple years. So that's good, and we're going to grow that in the future. As you see right here, one of the things you had, besides the books that come to your locker units, is a program to kick off the summer reading program. And it's a program on the bus with featuring several songs, several books, including Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. What's up next for Express Libraries? Well, we're evaluating Express Libraries and determining what else we offer at the Express Libraries. We have heard from 2 of our communities that have Express Libraries that would like to also have some technology trainings that are offered in their communities. So we're taking that into account. If there are things that you would like to see in the communities as well, please let me know, because we're always looking for that. And I will take any questions if you have. I'm trying to be mindful of your
You're
time.
outstanding. Does anyone have any questions?
As far as evaluation of Carver's library, how do you think it's performing in the short time it's been open?
I think it's doing fine. I think what we need to do now is get out into certain areas of your city, to get into the new apartment units when the new school comes in, to form an alliance with them so that they can be utilizing it more than they are. You've got a vibrant community in Carver. If you've ever heard me talk for very long, you know I love your painted ladies, those beautiful houses that are painted all the different colors. There's so much history here. The very first library was here. The German library was here. So I really think that you deserve more attention. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this study on the Express Libraries and determining where we're going to go. Being very planful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Good to see you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, we have the updates. We have no public hearing. Could I entertain a motion on the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Right on to new business. Mr. Merrick, Village Hall Options 9.1.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before we kind of dive into the considerations for the council tonight, I thought I'd just step back and kind of look at where we've been, and hopefully that can be a guide to how you want to take the community into the future. So going back to February of 2016, that's when the Village Hall was closed. Through February and March, we spent some time with staff and WSB, a structural engineer, looking at a variety of scenarios. But that really kind of indicated a need to kind of look at this from a bigger picture perspective. And so Leo A. Daly was brought on to develop a work plan and work with some resident community groups or community leaders on looking at what options are available to the community for community spaces. And that term was used intentionally in that, it could be a city hall, it could be a village hall, it could be any number of gathering places, and not to label it with what we're used to using, but what people want to see in the future. And so through the course of summer and into the fall of 2016, and actually into the winter, that task force met. And in February, the end of January, the final report was given to the council, and then a communication and engagement plan was created. And so we spent quite a bit of time, as hopefully everyone in the community is aware of getting people informed and sharing your voice. And the design was not necessarily a review of proposals, but a review of options. And similar to a menu going into a restaurant, there are a variety of options, everywhere from a cheeseburger to a New York strip steak, and it's up to the people that are looking at that menu to decide what option works for them depending upon their taste and what their budget might be. And so with that in mind, We did a series of kind of outreach events. This is a piece from the task force report, but these are the members of the task force. This is some of the early work that the task force did in developing those menu options, if you will. And what they used or created from those menu options, it was ultimately guided by these principles. I won't take the time to read those. You have them in front of you, and they've been inserted within various publications on the website, social media, etc. But it really is kind of the foundation of how this communication or how this discussion got started. We have spent probably the last, I would say, 90 or 45 days seeking out resident engagement. We had about 51 comments as of last week. I think we have a few more that I've inserted into the packet. We did the major newsletter, 2 utility bill inserts, also some frequently asked questions. There was a physical open house on March 13th, a listening session on the 27th, and then as you know, at the last council meeting, the city council debriefed on that listening session and asked for a variety of follow-up items that I'll get into later. And then ultimately tonight, at least as you designed, was the night that you can consider making a preferred choice, but ultimately that's up to you and your prerogative. So just an overview of the choices. First being repair of Village Hall, so that's repairing the building to function as it has been known to function, structural repair of the foundation, the re-roof, no accessibility improvements, etc. It's the existing gymnasium at approximately 3,000 square feet, and the Village Hall, or the lower level space at 3,000 square feet, maintains that downtown location at about approximately $675,000. And I should note this is somewhat different from all the other cost estimates in that the city received an estimate from Greystone Construction out of Shakopee to do this work, and so this is what I'd call the most hard number that you have out of the bunch. The rest are more conceptual. There is also project-related costs. Since this is over $100,000, the city would have to prepare plans and bid out this project. But all that said, $675,000 with an anticipated $37 per year tax impact over a 20-year bond issue. Village Hall renovation was another option presented at just over $3 million with a $156 tax impact over 20 years with no growth. This has a slightly different piece where you're keeping the existing Village Hall, or the kind of the banquet space in the lower level, but you're repurposing the gymnasium into City Hall offices. You're also making all the accessibility improvements, so it's coming with an elevator, additional stairs, work to the bathrooms. And one of the things I'll point out with this drawing and some of the other drawings that you'll see and people have seen are all these are schematic drawings, in that all these puzzle pieces can be moved around. So what you see as far as locations of offices or copy rooms are just an idea, an exercise to get to a price. But once the community or council would select a preferred option, you'd get into that design phase and really start right-sizing this for what the needs are. So this basically sets the ceiling at cost and gives you a big picture idea of how the space would be used, but the detail would come later on in the process. Next option is a new building on 926th Street at $5.7 million with a $293 tax impact. 16,000 square foot Village Hall, City Hall combination, event and meeting room space for up to 275 people, 165 vehicle parking lot, however, no room for building expansion. Next option, new construction south of the fire station, $7.5 million, $384 tax impact. The same dynamics as the previous footprint. What's really causing the increase in cost from this option to the previous option on 6th Street, turn lanes would have to be added to Jonathan Carver Parkway, and this site is privately owned, and so there'd have to be costs for putting in that off-site infrastructure and then site acquisition as well. And then of the main 5 options that were discussed through the bulk of the process, the last one being the new construction at the wastewater treatment plant. for $7.7 million, a $388 per year tax impact. Again, same building schematic. The major cost for this one is a bridge crossing over Carver Creek, based on estimates that we received from the city engineer, and not wanting to go out onto Jonathan Carver Parkway with that intersection would be poorly configured, especially for the increased amount of traffic. I thought a bridge would be needed, and so that's representative in the cost that you see here. Now, the next option that was presented in your packet is something new to the council. At your debriefing session, the council asked to look at another concept related to the existing Village Hall site. So this wasn't included in the city's initial outreach, but essentially what you see here on the screen and in your packets is a design for new construction at the existing Village Hall site at grade. So you wouldn't have a basement level, you'd have a first floor, second floor, and they could be arranged in any way that you'd see fit, but essentially you'd have offices on one floor and then a combination or dual-purposed Village Hall or community space and council chambers. Now when I say Village Hall, it's not going to have the type of capacity that the community is used to in the lower level. We haven't been able, because this is so new, we don't have an occupancy load on that, but if you can imagine something closer to kind of the size of the lodge at the Chaska Community Center, it'd have that kind of feel where you'd partition the council desk off from the room, seeing as though the council meets, twice a month, and then you have a couple other commission meetings, and because the space is drawn down, you try to make that into a multi-purpose room, and if you had a really large council meeting, you could open up that partition. The other big change that you'd see here too is it's a caterer's kitchen, so essentially a warming kitchen. You'd have some warming ovens, probably a refrigerator and a freezer, some dishwashing equipment, but no stovetop griddle, that kind of stuff. So no food could essentially be prepared there. It could be brought in by a caterer. That price tag is $3.9 million with a $201 per year tax impact. So running through the 6 options, then with the new site added, in your packet there's a debriefing of the listening session materials. I'm happy to go through any one of those specifically as far as follow-up items that the City Council requested, but I'll only go through those as you ask. At this point I won't run through the memo line by line, but if there is feedback or additional information that you need to have presented or a question answered, I'm happy to do so at this time.
Brent, I have a question about the new Village Hall proposal. Can you flip back to that picture? So does this encompass the entire footprint of the current City Hall or just the gym and hall, the current upper
It
and lower?
encompasses I would say 90% of the village and City Hall. So both buildings would essentially come down, hole filled in, foundation poured, and then 2-story above that. You'd have probably some additional space for some, sidewalk areas and dumpster storage, but it essentially takes up the entire site.
So the hill next to City Hall, I guess where the dumpster is now, would that be flattened also, or how would you have that?
It could be. That's something we'd probably have to get into at building design. Somebody like in Dan's field or the architect would come up with a way to do that. I don't know if it would involve filling that in and then building a retaining wall on the south side of the property where Dave Tadston owns that property.
So when you say 90%, does that bring us away from the creek levee, or does it, it's a concept, and you said maybe 90%, is there an idea of why it's not 100% of the space that is currently there?
Well, when they were developing it, the feedback I gave them is not to do 100% because then you literally have no space around the building. And so it could be 95, it could be 88. But it wanted to be able to just, since there's 0 lot lines or setbacks, taking up 100% puts us right at the property line for each. And if you get through design, you could say, well, we want to make it a little bit larger, the cost goes up, or you want to make it a little bit smaller to design, more outdoor space or a little plaza, you could certainly do that
Okay.
as well.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Merrick?
If this option is looked at and chosen, where would city staff operate out of for the construction time?
So if the council chose this as a preferred option, as a part of the action plan, I would go back and meet with department heads, and we would come up with a recommendation on where to relocate city offices. I'm not prepared to provide that plan to you at this point, and I don't want to be presumptuous either, because every single option involves staff reacting to some degree. So I preferred just to kind of hold on and wait until the council gave us some marching orders, but we would come up with something. I just don't know what that is right now.
And you said that this would be more of a catering kind of kitchenette area?
Correct.
Would there be alcohol be able to be served or not?
That's a policy decision outside of the building for the council to make. So you could decide to do that or decide not to do that. It's really a kind of a day-to-day policy choice that you could make for the building.
I saw in the packet some numbers concerning capacity, but I can't find them now. Can you tell me what the capacity in the gathering space would be? How many people?
I don't have that number. That's something that they don't have prepared.
Okay.
But we have it for the existing options, but not for this new one. It was
But you did have square footage, right?
correct.
What was the square footage?
Approximately like 4,000 feet on each level, about 4,200.
All right.
So the existing mark here, the existing village or gymnasium space is about 3,000 per level. Does that sound right, Mark?
Yeah, give or take.
You know, the one thing that, I'd ask you to consider it, it would have a different design, so it's not like it would be the same size. You'd, utility rooms, elevator.
It could be anything we need it to be.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And I can't remember who asked me, but it's certainly not a size room that probably some of our community groups are used to. It's not something that would accommodate, a full-scale, pork chop feed or pancake breakfast. I mean, the size would go down under this concept. You could have larger gatherings, but we're not talking about the size and scope of our existing facility at Village Hall.
What a size.
For the for larger banquets and pork chop dinners and stuff, they could still rent out the school.
Correct. So we followed up the policy for the district. Rental policy is in your packet. I did call the district offices. Their kitchen is available for rent. The rental schedule is in your packet as well. They do require, as a part of their rental, that one member of their kitchen personnel is on site during the event. And then obviously, or maybe not obviously, but the school grounds is a tobacco, alcohol, and firearms-free campus.
No guns.
To whatever
No
degree
guns
that,
blind.
to whatever degree that's of interest to the council. But to your direct question, yes, it's available for that type of event.
One of my biggest concerns, I really like the idea, but it still doesn't address the parking. That's my only concern. I know that we have, 270 parking spots in downtown within 4-block radius, is that correct, ballpark? That's I think it's sufficient for day-to-day activities and stuff like that, but I still think that we're lacking in parking. Other
Well,
than
the
that,
only thing that I see on that is if we're not going to have a large gathering down there, I'm okay with it. I mean, there's no need. I mean, if we have a big council meeting, walk a block. I mean,
block a block.
Yeah.
I really like the concept, though. Thank you, Cindy.
Why is everyone looking at me? I'm not making a motion.
You're the leader.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion if we're ready for that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if I'm ready for it or not.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to approve option 2, renovating Village Hall.
Option 2. Renovating,
Renovating Village Hall.
okay.
There's a motion. I'm not hearing a second. I'll put it out there one more time. Is there a second for the motion? Motion dies for lack of a second.
I'll make a motion to select the new construction Village Hall
I'll second
for
that.
adoption.
There's a motion and there's a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor and council,
Please.
if I could ask the motion to be amended to say that's the preferred choice. They're not
preferred
necessarily
choice.
motioning to move forward with that project specifically.
All right, would you like me to restate that?
Please.
I'll make a motion to select new constructed Village Hall, on Village Hall site as the option to move forward with.
Preferred option.
Preferred option.
Glenn, is that all right as a second?
I will second the new.
Vicky, do you add all? Okay. So there is a motion, there is a second. It's been amended. It's been approved. I mean, as far as that, it hasn't been approved yet. So we'll open it up for discussion.
I just wonder, and I know that this process has been long and the process has been thoughtful, but since this 6th option has only been on the table since Friday afternoon, I wonder if we don't need to wait until the next meeting to see if we can get more feedback from residents
What kind of feedback are you looking for? From the residents?
on the 6th site. Yep.
Going with the new option, I do have some concerns with the size of the hall downstairs and that we're going to be cutting out some of the events that we could be hosting down there. Granted, it does add some new dimensions to what can be held when it comes to certain meetings, but we are cutting out a larger space.
I have those concerns as well. I mean, I would like us to have a kitchen. I'm almost curious as to why we couldn't still use this as our council gathering space and still have a larger hall.
I had that thought too about if and why we would need a new council facility. And I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is just more the site and the numbers, and that level of minutia and detail would get worked out later on in the process.
If I could just add to Councilmember Johnson's comment, you could be in a position where you say, yes, we want council chambers to stay in the church, and then your lower level room would get larger by that amount of size. I don't know if it would meet your needs for a larger space that Councilmember Mock was alluding to, but to Councilmember Johnson's point, you can move these pieces around to whatever your needs it. The council will have to decide at some point, do you want to do that at a schematic level, or do you want to get into the design? And that's what we'll bring forward to you at that action step. The design is where you're really going to kind of figure a lot of that stuff out. Because you can design it whatever way that you'd like. You don't need to decide how many conference rooms and that kind of piece this evening.
Well, I'm just saying right now that I want a commercial kitchen in there. And I want the council chambers to stay here.
you prepared for that number to go up then?
Not necessarily.
I can, for myself, think that it'd be okay to get by with just the warming kitchen and keeping the council chambers here in order to keep a larger space.
That might work
there
too.
At
yeah.
a better cost, because commercial kitchens are very expensive.
Well, that's what we lost, though.
True, but we'll still have some kitchen space where you can prepare. You may not be able to do all of your cooking, but at least you can prepare. And some of these, I mean, we can make the choice, they have grills outside where for
Yeah,
some
that
of
can
these
be
events
worked
too.
out. You're right.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Merrick. We'll look for more information moving forward in terms of the preferred option and how we move forward.
Thank you. Just for clarification for the council and for the residents and anyone watching, and we'll do our part to get out, but it's going to take, I would say, the better part of 2 months for us to put all this stuff together. So I don't want to have anyone leave this meeting or watch on TV and feel like the next meeting we're going to come back with an action plan. Because we don't want to have an action plan that we have to continuously change because we forgot about something. So we want to be thoughtful about how we put this together in the same way that we attempted to get feedback and put this whole process together. So I know there's probably some anxiety, or perhaps there will be, that if I'm sure somebody had an option up there they would have preferred to see over another. And I'm just letting folks know that there's still another process. This project hasn't been approved. We're putting together things for the council to consider for more discussion.
Well, I mean, interestingly, this is the first time there's been a consensus. It's the first time there's been 5 on the same side. Even the comments, all very apropos and all appreciated, there wasn't a consensus amongst everybody. So I think it was a good process.
And if I can just add one more clarifying point, there's been kind of a little bit of what I'll call kind of social media chatter regarding referendums and will there be a referendum and starting a petition to require a referendum. As it relates to this action plan, referendums are a financing function, so when the council chooses what method you want to finance or how you want to finance this project, I'll put in kind of air quotes, that's when that happens. I don't want to see anybody go through some wasted energy if they not like this option and try to put a petition together when there's nothing to really petition, because
You're not heading it off.
what the council has essentially done tonight is said, you don't like these other 5 options, you want to investigate this 6th option and go from there. So it's I just wanted to set out some expectations for what we can all expect of each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Let us now move on to 9.2, the 2017 improvement project. Mr. Dan Boyum.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packets, we had the plan set for the 2017 street improvements and 2017 utilities. This picture, once again, is one that was presented at the public hearing that shows some of the improvements proposed along Broadway from 4th to 6th Street. Since our last meeting, or the last few meetings, there's been various items that have been incorporated into the project. And we've listed here item number 1, some of the additional water and sanitary sewer improvements that were added during design when public services and engineering looked through more detail on the project. Some of those were replacing water services. At one time we were replacing a certain number, but we've decided based on the age of the existing water services and not having to dig up the street if a possible water service went bad, we're replacing all the water services in downtown, in the downtown area. We're also adding valves in places where when the original improvements were placed in 1986, that was a great year, 1985.
86.
Well, yeah, both were good years, 85 and 86. There wasn't as many valves that were placed on the water main, so we're adding some valves so that Public Services
Good
can
valve year.
operate things better. Also, this pressure reducing valve that's at 6th and Broadway, the city has had various issues with their pressure reducing valves, and as long as the street is ripped up, Public Services pointed out replacing the valve and making it more automated so that they can watch the system and the pressures better in this part of the downtown. So that's something, at least with the valve at this point in time, and getting some conduit in the ground so that Public Services can run some wiring in the future. We did add some additional manholes in certain places so that if there's ever issues with some of the existing services, a lot of the services that were put in 85 and 86 are PVC services, so you don't see those kind of issues as much as with clay, but there can be some issues, so we've added some manholes and also some sewer piping near well 4. One of the things that was brought up at both the public hearing and some of the upcoming open houses was some of the walk location in the area of 3rd Street between Broadway and Hickory. And because of some of the slopes, and we talked about this at the public hearing, the slopes up Ash and up Jorgensen, we weren't putting sidewalk on those 2 blocks between 4th and Main. But as we looked at it closer in design and looked at the area of getting people traveling from 3rd Street down to Main Street and to the trail entrance points at Jorgensen and Ash, we did add sidewalk on the west side of those 2 streets. We also, there's sidewalk on both sides of 3rd Street between Ash and Jorgensen, and we looked at removing the one side on the south side but keeping the north side. So those are some revisions that weren't talked about at the council meeting, but we wanted to discuss that with you tonight. There was some feedback. I'm going to jump down to the open house meeting. There was some feedback from some of the residents that attended that in saying that, right now they don't have walk on Ash Street. That was the concerned property owner. There's no walk on Ash Street. As soon as you add walk where you don't have walk before, there is, some maintenance associated with having walk on a area where there is not walk. And we did look at that. There are places like at 3rd Street close to Hickory where we're going to extend the walk to Hickory and we're going to add some retaining wall. The stretch right at the corner of Main and Ash where we'd add walk on the west side, there is that property that we would have to have some retaining wall there too. So that property owner may or may not be here tonight. They did express some concerns with walk, and we can talk about that more with the council. There's also some trees that, in general, whenever we reconstruct streets in Carver, we try to save the existing trees. And over the years, we've been able to do that in some places we haven't been able to do that. There is a stretch along 3rd Street between Ash and Jorgensen where the trees on the north side are being affected by the project. It's the high side of the street and just trying to get the slopes to work out and the new sidewalk placed. It was affecting those trees. And
all of those trees?
Most all of the trees, not every single
That's a shame.
Right, but what we're gonna do is stake where the back of the curb goes and the elevation, and then stake the sidewalk, and then meet with each of those property owners so that we can, explain it in more detail with them and why the trees would be affected.
So when those trees are taken out, are you going to put new trees on the boulevard for them?
Correct. There was some people who brought up about when the city affected the trees were affected along the MCS route on 3rd Street East and Oak Street, and there are certain trees that were planted. One of the property owners who lives at the very west end of 3rd Street, west of Hickory, had brought up how they really liked the trees that the city had placed with that project, and they planted one on their property, and they were explaining to some of the other residents how they're just so impressed with how fast those new trees grew. It's still not replacing a tree that's been there.
Well, you don't want to replace them with what's there because those are ash trees.
Right, we want to get away from ash trees. So. But yeah, and Third Street Bridge erosion, that was talked about at the work session. So the plan would be to incorporate, some of those improvements that we talked about at the work session in the final plan that goes out for bidding. One thing, I'm just going to move back to this slide. One of the things we had in your packet in the memo, we talked about the Broadway Avenue lift station improvements, but that was at one time going to be part of the utility improvements. But in further review with Public Services, we're looking at an option as to the possibility of putting one larger lift station that would pick up the drainage from Broadway and the Main Street Bridge trestle area, the old trestle railroad bridge. There's a lift station there and there's one at Broadway. We're looking at routing storm sewer to get down to that trestle lift station, and therefore maybe avoiding having two lift stations and keeping one intact. And so it kind of came up late in the discussions, but we felt it's best to pull that option out of the bidding and research that more and then bring back information to the council on that. And so that would end up being its own project separated from the project. So we wanted to let you know about that. And as it relates to that, we kind of had it with the project, we pulled it out, we've made some revisions, and so we did come up with a revised opinion of probable costs for construction costs related to each of the areas. Some of the, as we mentioned, some of the water and sewer items are reflected here based on those changes that were discussed during design with Public Services. So you have a total estimated construction cost if you did that alternate on the parking lot by 3rd Street between the alley and 3rd would be around $2.377 million for this project. And so the action tonight, there may or may not be some residents that may want to address the council. We did tell them if they had some concerns, they could come tonight.
You did or didn't tell them?
We did tell them. So there may be some here. If there aren't any other changes or questions that came up, you can ask us to address any of those changes, but we are looking for council approval of Resolution 118-17, which approves the plans and specs and then sets the bid date for Thursday, May 11th, 2017.
Is there any member of the public that has questions, comments, or concerns based upon the city engineer's report? I'm sensing none.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 118-17, approving the plans and specifications and setting the bid opening date for Thursday, May 11th at 10 a.m.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Sorry, Mr. Moyam. All right. We are to City Council Communications. Monroe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Carver County
Carver
Community
County
Leaders. We went and listened to the same presentation we'd heard before about how there's no money in Carver County or the state of Minnesota to do our road projects, so probably the county will introduce a wheelage tax and sales tax. Oh yeah, they already have the wheelage. They'll up the wheelage tax.
Double it.
And then there'll be a sales tax, and then we'll even do some of the state roads because we can't get the state to pay for it. Anyway, you might want to talk to your county commissioner if you don't think that's a good idea.
And ours is Jim Ishii, just because most people don't know who your Carver County Commissioner is.
Yeah. That was all we talked about.
That's all you got? Johnson?
There's a business council meeting on Friday morning and a planning commission meeting Thursday night, but nothing other than that.
Mock.
The HPC did not meet, so I do not have anything.
Hank?
Parks Commission met, and we went over Community Park and finalized tree sale. I got.
I have, actually, do you have anything, Brent? Sorry, Mr. City Manager. I have two things. I'd like to thank the members of the task force that were presented with the options and for taking their time and effort to put together the guiding principles as well as the options that they came up with. I really appreciate that. And I also would like an opportunity to introduce Brenda Good, who has recently joined our staff. I would really like it if you came up and introduced yourself. Earlier, she said that I didn't have to do that, but if she wanted to, I wanted to, that we could. So welcome aboard. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Come on. Oh, I like this, right up in front. Scared of nothing.
I've been here about 6 weeks and I'm absolutely loving the city of Carver and the opportunity to work here. I come from working at the city of Cologne for 7 years prior, so I have some experience in the city background, and it's fun to move a little further east to a neighboring community. So I look forward to meeting a lot of the residents. I've met a few, and I'm just thankful for this opportunity to work with the council and the city staff.
And
Well,
just so
welcome.
that you know, if you ever come in and have questions walking into City Hall, the odds of you working with Brenda are very good. So she's done a tremendous job, and we really, really appreciate the opportunity to have her on board. Thank you. Wow, just right up in
Thank you.
front. Jeez, I don't even know what to say to that. That's outstanding. Outstanding. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. I needed one badly.
I always
That's
take yours.
screaming.
Yeah, no, I always take yours, so, here, I give you one of mine.